economic development of the historic district. There are bricks in memory or in honor of loved ones and veterans, bricks commemorating graduations, and even bricks celebrating weddings. In fact, a couple got married here and donated a brick to declare their love for each other and for Gettysburg. Gettysburg looks like it's right out of a Hallmark movie. A quaint, clean, and safe downtown with lots of unique shops and restaurants, well-preserved history, and old-world charm. Your purchase of a brick will help keep it that way. The Brick program enables Main Street Gettysburg to provide events, services, and projects that support the local business community. We led the Steinware Avenue Revitalization Project, and we are now extending that successful streetscape project to Baltimore Street. We also host the annual Christmas Festival. We are also raising funds to construct the future Gettysburg Welcome Center at 340 Baltimore Street, which will provide transportation and tourism information, as well as much-needed public restrooms in the heart of the historic district. Main Street Gettysburg is passionate about the continual revitalization of historic Gettysburg. To remain on the forefront, we need people like you. Buy a brick, donate, volunteer. Please explore our website for details and photo galleries about everything we do for our amazing community. As always, thank you for supporting Main Street Gettysburg.
We really think of what we're doing as more a system of social care. So, it doesn't matter what door you come in, so you could come through WIC or our food pantry, identifying what needs you have to lead to the best outcome for you and your family. That's our goal. We want people to be able to thrive, to meet their highest potential. And if I have isolated separate programs, it makes it harder for them. But if we can kind of broker those programs or braid those programs in a way that helps a family or an individual to become self-sustaining, to be able to thrive, to have their family do better, to build a new future story, then it makes our community stronger. And then we can learn from what we are seeing with those families, from what their experiences are, to work at the system level. For example, you may come to us through the food pantry or through our utility assistance program struggling to meet your needs. You might be a senior who's on a fixed income. And we find that if we can weatherize your house and reduce your utility costs, you're more able to stay in your house. So your long-term stability, you can age in place where you want to be. So that strategy works. You may have come in a different door, but the strategy of trying to get you to the best place you can be for your life is what we're looking for.
Hello again, sports fans. Corey Smith sits behind his laptop, and I'm right here. I'm Jeff Cook. We're live here from the studio in New Oxford. This is Sports Chat. Give us a call, 717-334-3000, or give us an email, communitymedia.net, and we still have that capability of fielding
voicemails,
questions.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they can do that. Send us a question, make a comment. We don't have any hidden agenda, nor do we have a script. We just like to talk sports.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, where should we begin?
Let's go with the shining star of the week.
Okay. I thought about this on the way over. I also thought, here's another question. Has there ever been a 5-4 game in the NFL? It'd be like a field goal and a safety versus two safeties. It reminded me of that New Oxford game, which was, 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm digressing big time here. So, Hall of Fame, Phillies lost last night, 5-4. They were down 5-0, showed not a bit of spunk, and then got a 3-run homer for from their second baseman, and you know, they got within a run, and then Trey Turner and Bryce Harper struck out to end the game. But that was because of the, I guess, the MLB package, the way it goes, and not being sometimes in the Phillies area. I had the Mets broadcasters, and they were saying there are 3 Hall of Famers on the Mets roster. So help me out here, because I think Lindor is a legit Hall of Famer. He had 2 home runs last night. He killed the Phillies, and maybe they're saying.
I guess the 3 that I can think of is, Lindor, Alonso, and Soto. That's
Soto,
that's the ones
but
I'm thinking.
Alonso, I mean, I think it's premature to talk about Alonso.
Yeah.
I mean, you put Bryce Hopkins or Reese Hoskins in the Hall of Fame?
I think what they're going at is just projectively
Okay.
speaking, he's on that track there. Now he could go off the track there, but I think relatively speaking, I think if he
Yeah.
puts up these numbers for another 10 years or such,
Well,
and
yeah.
then I think
The
that's
Polar
what.
Bear's got a nice nickname, but okay. So that, anyway, I put Lindor on the Shining Star. I'm going to talk local pole vaulter Lily Carlson. She's looking to repeat as state champion in the pole vault, 13.5 feet or something like that. So she's the favorite. So we wish her well. I'm not sure if states are this week, but anyway, she deserves. She's going to Texas Tech, I think. Anyway.
Okay.
For track. So, what do you got?
Well, to answer your question about the 5'4", I was able to get that answer. In the NFL, there has not been a 5'4".
Okay, because I remember when the Steelers were involved in an 11-10 game or something like. Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was 12. It was an odd combo. For sure.
There was a 7-5 game that was back when the Redskins beat the Lions back in 1938. But
Yeah,
that's the
and there have
closest
been
you can get a.
some zeros before you could have overtime. There would be 0-0 games, kind of like soccer. You know?
All
right, so who you got?
My shining star. I'm going to go with another week, another Hunter, but I'm going to go with Hunter Brown this week. He went 7 innings of shutout baseball. He extended his scoreless streak to 24 innings, dating back to April 3rd. From the second inning
Who's this guy pitch for?
for the Astros. He's been pitching really good since the second half of last year. It looked like he was going to get demoted down to AAA last year. Just the way he was pitching, just awful the first 10. I would say the first 2 months of the season last year. But ever since then, he has changed his delivery and right now, he has got an ERA of 1.16. So
Wow, that's Bob Gibson-ish.
yeah, that is definitely.
Bob Gibson-esque, I
Yes,
guess would be
yeah.
better way to put it.
So that was my shining star, and then my hot seat is the complete opposite of what Hunter Brown's doing, and that goes to Charlie Morton. He is 0-5 in 5 starts, and at least
How old is he?
he is 41. He will be 42
So,
in,
when you don't
in
have
the
a
offseason.
fastball, that
Uncle
curveball
Charlie, yeah.
is not as effective.
Yeah, so
Maybe he needs to work on a knuckleball or something like that.
in every outing, he has given up at least 4 runs. And this past Sunday, he gave up 7, and he went 2 1/3. And his ERA sits at 10.89. So you go from Hunter Brown, that has a 1.16, to Charlie, probably the worst ERA in baseball for starters. So it is not looking good for
What's his ERA?
10.89.
Okay,
That is not good.
all right. So, who else you got? I mean, like, there's plenty to go
Well,
around.
I got another shining star. I'll go with Austin Wynns, the backup catcher for the Orioles from a few seasons ago. This was his second time going up against the Orioles. The other time he was with the Rockies. On Sunday, he was with the Reds, and he went 6 for 7. He had a 3-run home run in the 9th there, and he was the number 9 guy in the lineup.
I was listening to the stats about that game.
It
They
is just
combined for 13 RBIs in the 8-9
Yep.
hole or something like that. Wow.
yeah, just
24-2.
24 to
Has there ever
2.
been a 24-2 game in the NFL history. I mean, it's a safety and
Let's see here. I
3
can go back
touchdowns,
to
3
there.
extra
Let's go to
points.
24
So
to
how was that last name? WINNS?
WYYW. I'll get that in just a second here.
WYNNE?
Let me see here.
Okay, we're all about accuracy here on Sports Chat.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's see here. Let's go. Austin. It is WYNNS.
Wins.
Wins. Austin wins.
Losses. Okay, he was the winner.
I do not see a 24 to 2 in football. So,
All right, that's interesting.
yeah.
I'm safety fixated. Brings me up
Absolutely.
to the draft. A lot of
Yes.
safeties become a key position. A lot of first-round safeties. Any October surprises in April, if you will, concerning the draft? Anybody tipping their hand about trying to move up, down, whatever? Any scuttlebutt?
I think there could be a couple teams out there, could be New England, trading back. It could be, even the Bears trading up. We talked about that last week about Ashton Genty. I see Genty
Perfect
going.
pairing with Caleb Williams, perhaps?
I mean, I think the Bears, need to upgrade their running back depth there. I mean,
Who they got now?
right now for the Bears, let me go over here with who's on their active roster there. So that would
Well, did they? No, who got Kenneth Gainwell? Was that the Cowboys?
I think the Cowboys there, yeah.
Ooh, that hurts.
Let me see
You don't
here.
like the Cowboys.
Yeah, I can see the Bears trading up. I mean, the get a running back there, or they can just stay, status quo
Good, and
at
hope
10
that
there.
he goes to, what's their number in the lineup?
Number 10 there. They got DeAndre Swift. They got Roshan Johnson there. So
These
yeah,
are their.
running backs there for
okay.
the Bears there.
Swift
So
was with the Eagles, and before that the Lions.
I mean, Swift is getting into that tier of his career where he doesn't have too much longevity left there.
Yeah.
Once you hit 30
Lose
there.
a step
So.
in the NFL.
So I can see them
It's
going
tough.
running back or tight end. They can go with Warren, the Penn State, tight end. That seems likely
Small
where
world.
he could fall as the 10, 11, 12. He could go to San Francisco at 11 there. So that's where I'm thinking, where the Bears will go is either running back or tight end or best available player on the board.
Yeah.
Who's your hot seat there since
I was filling it up. Okay, so talking about underachievers and hot seat in all kinds of ways. I'll get the Philly pitching candidates for hot seat. Aaron Nola, I think is he 0-5 now? I don't think his ERA is quite 10, and he actually settled down after going down 2-0. Soto looked like he hit a 3-run homer, and it just hooked foul by about 3 inches.
I remember seeing that there.
He straightened out, but then Jordan Romero, they were up 11-4 on Saturday in the 9th inning, and Jordan Romero, they picked him up from Toronto. Right?
Toronto.
He was supposedly a closer, stuff, blah, blah, blah. He gave up a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer. They had to bring Alvarado in, and they won 11-10.
Yeah,
Dicey moment. for
I remember
Phillies fans.
seeing that, on Saturday. Just them just giving up 6 runs in the 9th and just barely hanging on there.
Yeah, and they almost turned the tables on the Mets last night. The other pitcher, Ryan Kierkegaard, he's been so reliable, and he gave up a 3-run homer, first ever Major League homer, I think, to one of the Marlins, and they ended up losing 7-5 in 11 innings or something like that. But they had it 4-2, and anyway, so now the Phillies have lost 2 in a row. I think they're 3 games behind the Mets. It's a long season, so tonight's a key game, though. Christopher Sanchez goes for Philly. Some guy I never heard of goes for the Mets. That doesn't mean anything.
Looking at Aaron Nola's stats, 5 games pitched, 20 earned, 0-5 ERA of 6.43. I mean, it's better than Charlie, but that's
Yeah,
not
but it's
saying
not
a whole lot there.
Aaron
Yeah.
Nola-esque, for
No.
sure,
I mean,
yeah.
looking at his previous years, having the ERA of around 3.50 to
Yeah.
4.5 there, and getting at least double-digit wins. But here is just
Lots of strikeouts. I thought, I mean, I'm not an aficionado, but I thought he was tipping his pitches. He takes that extra turn in his glove, when
Extra
it's
second
a
there, yeah.
curveball, or like it changes his grip a little bit. You can, I don't know, you see him dig into that glove a little more, maybe. Because those guys were, the first one was Lindor, it was a hanging curveball, right center cut, as they say, so he didn't miss it. And then, okay, so let's shift gears. The Royals, they're underachieving, right? So,
yeah. I mean, they're second in the AL Central.
what's their record?
Let
Because
me
that's
get
kind of
here.
are the Guardians
Yeah.
first?
The Tigers are
Really?
in first place right now, and just the way they've been playing some, I guess, stellar baseball. They've been
The
nine-
Royals?
No, the Tigers. The
Okay.
Tigers are 14-9. They have a half game lead, over the Guardians, but the Kansas City is 9-14. They just kind of
It's early.
stumbled
It's
out
early.
of the
Bobby
gate
Witt,
there.
but nobody's hitting beside Bobby Witt on that team. Maybe that'll help turn them around. The Clippers, they blew a 15-point lead, and now, the Nuggets have the upper hand in Denver. They were trying to steal a game, which would have been huge. And the Lakers, boy, they got that handled by Ant-Man and Minnesota. How do they turn it around?
Well, I mean, with Minnesota, the way that they were just shooting the threes, I mean, they went 50% on 3-pointers. So,
You hope they cool off.
I mean, with that rate there, I mean, if they keep on shooting like that, it's going to be, tough, for the Lakers to beat them. But, the way I look at Minnesota, they are a very, fierce team that they like to just be
physicality,
physical with
yeah.
you there. I think, the Lakers, they're more of just a finesse where they're just more, they kind of slowly go with it there.
With
You
no
kind of-
Anthony Davis, they really don't have a rim protector.
It'd be interesting to see how far that goes in the series. I mean, does that, go the distance?
That's why it's so key for them. Game 2 is tonight.
Yep, game 2 is tonight there, and
Who else is playing today?
yeah, so
I
we
might have
got-
to, if the Phillies don't look good against the Mets, I could always switch to the NBA.
let's see here. The slate of games tonight, we got the Bucks and the Pacers. They'll be playing at
1-0
7
Pacers.
o'clock. That is 1-0 Pacers, and then we got Grizzlies and Thunder. That is at 7:30. That probably won't be much of a game after what we saw
Yeah.
on game 1 with Thunder winning.
Ja can't do it all by himself.
And then the nightcap game is at 10 o'clock, and that is Timberwolves and Lakers. So you might be stuck watching the Phillies and the Mets because, I don't.
It might not be close games.
I think maybe the Bucks and the Pacers might be a little bit of a closer, but
Well, maybe they get their point guard back.
that's true. That's a good point.
Hero. Oh. Right? I mean, isn't he supposed to come back?
You're supposed to, yeah. With the Bucks,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't think. I'm
Dame
out of the
Dame
mental block.
Lillard.
Oh, Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep thinking of zero, but that's the number he wears. So I was thinking like, but
Yeah,
Dame Lillard. So he's supposed to miss the first game. He couldn't be back.
yeah. I mean, by looking at reports, it looks like he's supposed to be playing, in game
That's a
2
big
there. So
difference. I think they rally around him. But I mean, Indiana is well coached, and they're a tough, scrappy team. I mean, are they the? Was that game in Indiana?
that game is in Indiana there. So
They had the better record than the Bucks.
how about the playing games? I mean, nothing too surprising there. I mean, you had the Warriors get that 7 seed, which them being a 7 seed.
So they beat the Grizzlies. I didn't stay up for that one.
Yeah. So they
Okay.
beat the Grizzlies.
You and I had the Grizzlies. No. Oh yeah, and you had the Magic. The Magic. So they didn't make it, did they? Or yeah, they're playing the Celtics,
yeah.
right? Okay.
And then Miami was a 10 seed. They end up being the 8 after winning the 9-10
playing
matchup.
Cleveland?
Yep.
And how'd that game one go? I didn't
That
hear
was
the
a
score.
one-sided affair. That was,
Jared Allen has the best afro in the
I would agree, hands down.
NBA.
The Cavs won on Sunday, 121-100. So I see that being a sweep. The Warriors, I think they are just more of a veteran leadership there. I think they will probably have a gentleman's sweep there against the Rockets there. Even though the Rockets are 52-30, and they had a good season
game
there.
one.
The Warriors by 10 there, but they
Got
they
Jimmy buckets now.
yeah. They were down by a good amount there, and the Rockets should have won that game. Had a couple turnovers here, there, and and then the Warriors
Kind of a no-name
capitalized.
team, but if you follow the NBA, you know how good they were this year. So,
Mm-hmm.
what, 50 wins you said?
52 wins.
That's pretty good.
But how about that game last night with Detroit and New York? This is the first time that the Pistons won a game in
Okay,
nearly
so
20
they
years.
played well the game one, and Knicks went on a 21-0 run or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about game two, because I didn't even know it was on.
Yeah. So game two, Cunningham had 33 points. They had a nice size.
Didn't do a whole lot in game one.
No.
He ended up okay, but
In game two last night, there 33 points, 12 rebounds. They were able to control most of the game throughout there. The Knicks tied it up, and then Detroit hit a big three. Towards the end of the
they
final
have,
minute there.
Tobias Harris is
Mm-hmm.
on.
Schroeder.
Dennis
Schroeder, yeah.
Schroeder. Yeah. So where did Nick Batum end up? Is he with the Clippers? Or
I think the Clippers.
he had a big shot down the stretch. He helped the Sixers last year. Mm-hmm. A call. All right, let's go to the phone line. Hello, welcome to Sports Chat. Hello. Hey, I know something you don't know.
You got good connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Who won at Williams Grove? And I know the answer.
Well, let's look at the crystal ball.
I looked. It was in today's paper, and he had some good paydays at Lincoln Speedway and Williams Grove. I mean, sounds like he had quite a weekend for himself, and now he's making Sports Chat, so that's big. Anthony Macri, good job.
Well, let's go to the points right quick.
We'll put him on Shining Stars. I don't think
Why
we've ever done
not?
that
Yeah.
before. Go
Let's
ahead,
do it.
Robert.
Number one is Anthony Macri with 600.
Okay. Okay.
Number two is Brock.
Brock.
Number three is very own Danny Dietrich.
All right.
Okay.
Number four is Chase Deep.
Chase Dietz.
And then over at the top five is your very own Freddie Ringer.
Who?
I couldn't get that last
Freddie
one.
Reamer.
Freddie Raymer.
Oh, yeah. Our very own, for sure. Okay, Fast Freddy.
Hey, Mr. Cook,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cook,
Yeah.
but there is a tie for fifth, though.
Okay. Fred Raymer and
Right? Lance DeWeese.
I've heard that name before.
But Lance is number 6, but he's tied with Raymer.
Okay.
Okay. So wouldn't they be tied for fifth, and then if there's somebody else, they would be seventh instead of,
Yeah, that's.
That's how they do in golf, correct? Mm-hmm. So, well, Robert, that's pretty impressive. You've certainly heard of Hunter Brown. I felt a little bad. Corey said he's.
Well, Mr. Cook,
Yeah,
I want to say something, though.
I'm sure you
How
do.
did you like that name that I picked for myself last week?
I loved it.
CM Punk.
Yeah, yeah, and you did so well. We knew it wasn't the normal panel. No, I'm kidding.
He was
Brandon,
on.
I'm
He was
kidding.
right here.
He
Yeah.
was here, yeah. And yeah, so we had 3 hosts, tri-hosts, if you will.
The trifecta.
Yeah. Well, sir, what else you got? Your Astros, they could still win that division.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting though, for trivia last week.
Go ahead.
How I came up with that name last week.
How did you come up with that name? Because of WWE? Isn't he one of the feature wrestlers coming up this weekend or something?
And then this last week we had WrestleMania.
Okay, well, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. So the real CM Punk was on WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we know what the C and the M stand for?
No, we do not.
It's a mystery.
How about this? Coffin maker.
I like it.
Hey, Corey.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, guess what my name's going to be tonight?
I'm gonna guess a soda. You know, like Mountain Dew or Pepsi or Coca-Cola. That's my guess.
Well, I'm going to give you a little hint. It's
Okay.
going to be one of your people that are doing the survey with you.
So you're gonna have my name.
It might be Cook is here, Cook is number 2.
I have a name for you. How about this?
2.
How about this name? Pickletown Mensa.
I like it.
Mensa.
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 How do you spell that?
MENSA. Well, you know how to spell Pickletown, right?
Yeah, pick it down. T-I-L-L-S.
Pill. Okay. Well, never mind. All right. So, what else you got? CM Punk, WrestleMania. You got the top 6. Is that just Williams Grove? Is that Williams Grove? Is that what he said?
I think so, yeah.
Corey,
What's up?
did you hear who the new wrestling champion is?
If you want to, shout it out to the
Hulk Hogan.
yeah. Who is it there, Robert?
Oh, I can't think what, he does the hefty commercials.
He does the commercials.
John Cena.
Yeah.
Do 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 do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good for him.
Yeah. Mr. Seven.
Adds to his resume.
Yes.
Does he have a game show yet?
I think yeah. He had the wipeout or the big bouncing
Okay,
balls.
yeah. The Ninja Warrior
Yes.
type contestants. All right, Robert. Well, just hang with us for a while. Golf, anything to report? The Heritage Open or something like that?
They had the
Justin Thomas or
Justin Thomas won the event there. That was the RBC Heritage. He had a playoff with. He was 17 under. Won on the first playoff hole there. So that was his first win in 3 years. So he's always been in the top 10 and just
maybe we
kind
should
of
put him.
up
We'll
there.
add him to the
Yeah.
shining star. Justin Thomas breaks 3-year drought.
Now the other one, they had 2 tournaments going on. They had one in the Corvallis Championship there. It's more of like the
The B League.
more the golfers that they win it. They have their tag, their card for at least 2 years. Joel Damon or Damon, yeah. He was 13 under. He finished. He had the lead all throughout. He had a bogey on the 16th, the 17th, and the 18th, and could have easily won by 2 shots and bogeyed the last 3 holes. So Joel could have easily won, and that would have been huge for him to have the card for the next couple years there. But it went to the wayside. But Going back to baseball, I do have the ET
yeah,
tracker.
what do we got?
Last week it was what, I think
7?
7. This week I'm surprised Robert didn't ask about that there.
Yeah.
The ET is at 11. So,
Okay.
I think, oh, yes, Robert, yes.
A tepid pace.
Go at the 10.
You said what, 10 last week? It'll,
2 weeks ago.
yeah. Well, it was slowly climbing. The first weekend it was 1, and then it was 3, and it's growing slightly there. So right now it's 11. So see, maybe next week it might be 15. So with
I would say higher.
okay, I mean
Well,
you said like
it's-
250 ejections or something like that there. So
Ejections are down. What that means, we don't know.
that means everyone's level. It's it's still calm. It's still April. I mean, once we get the August and September, and then tension gets
Pennant races heat up.
people's
Bumps really get bad, even worse, calling balls and strikes.
people's tempers get even out the window. So I think it will increase as the season progresses there. But
Okay.
looking at the
Corey,
yes.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be 21.
21. All right, that's
That's for the whole year?
for next week.
Oh, okay.
Next week.
All right, you want me to write that down?
Write it down. And Mr. Cook,
Yeah.
I'm not finished with you about racing yet. I'm not done with you yet.
Racing?
Yeah, he's not done with you yet. There.
Okay,
I gotta get you caught up with Lincoln.
okay. Have we ever written that down before? The Lincoln, we'll do
Probably
it.
did there. Yeah.
We have.
Okay, that's in Adams County, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. Didn't Macri,
Not in a particular order.
okay. I was worried, we didn't get that at full effect. Who do you got starting off?
Number 2,
Okay. Silver,
Matt Campbell.
Matt Campbell, okay.
Number 4 is your very own Stanley Dietrich.
Okay, so he had a third and a fourth. That's probably not a bad weekend.
Number 3, you have your very own Freddie Labor.
Freddie Raymer tied with Lance DeWeese in this race, or no? No.
But this is that Lincoln.
I know. I go ahead, keep going. We're 5 and 1. Might as well do.
Number, I'm gonna give you a suspense here.
Okay, I think that's good. Okay.
Number 5 is Aaron.
Aaron, he only goes by one name,
Aaron.
like Cher or
Not too much
Madonna.
about him.
Okay. All right, and number 1.
And then number 1 is a Troy Wagaman.
Who?
Troy Wagaman.
Troy Wagaman. Huh. Okay. All right. Congrats to all those.
And that would cover your
Lincoln Speedway.
For
All
tonight.
right. You go to Port Royal?
No, don't go there too much, too often.
All right. Anything?
But I want to tell you though, I do have their points too, by the way, if you want to know.
Ah, that's all right. We're good.
Nah.
I think we're good. We gotta move on to some other sports. But thank you for the offer.
But also, Mr. Cook,
Yeah.
in another 10 days, we will be invaded by the Outlaws.
The Outlaws in 10 days.
Williams Grove. All right. Well, let's hope there's no weather issues. The Outlaws.
They're going to be, but they're going to be in Lincoln on the 3rd of May.
Okay.
And
Oh.
that's about a week and a half from now.
Yeah.
I will
12
not be
days.
calling you that night. I
Okay.
will not be calling you that night. And that's a Tuesday night.
All right.
And I will not be calling you that night.
All right.
I will assure you.
Well, okay. Well, we'll try to carry on as best we can. Don't burst our balloon. we'll carry on as best we can, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll save your spot. You'll be able to call us again in a fortnight, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then the following week, you will expect some local racing after the week after that.
I would expect nothing less. So we're counting on it. We'll just have to wing it next week without you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll recycle some of these same names. Who will call us on it? I don't know.
I don't know. Somebody
Yeah,
will.
they might. All right, Robert. Well, carry on. Maybe Carl will give us a call. Okay.
Yeah, but if it's good, let's hear from him next.
Sounds good. All right. I'll tell him you were asking for him.
Carl, if you're out there, call in.
Hear that, Carl?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, buddy. You checked out.
Yeah. How about sticking with the baseball there with, announcing that ET there, but how about that crazy, wacky game on Sunday with the Cubs and the Diamondbacks? 16 runs scored in the eighth inning.
Yeah. It was it Sunday? I thought it was a different.
Friday.
Friday, yeah. I was watching it. It was on MLB. Mm-hmm. But I guess the wind was carrying out at Wrigley. I mean, that ball was crazy. What they were, D-backs were down 11-4 or
7-1 at one point there, yeah.
Yeah, and they just clawed all the way back, but then the Cubs won it in the end. So Cubs are looking good.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that division,
Young team, some talent. Young
I
talent.
like that, PCA. That PCA has been,
Pete
playing.
Crow Armstrong.
Mm-hmm. PCA for short there, easy with, kind of staying quick there. But I like that depth there. And I said,
Fielder. Yeah, he's fast.
I said at the beginning of the season, I like the Reds in that division, which I had to, really,
Tito is back.
I had to take one in the chin there when they're, losing those games 1-0 there, but, not scoring runs
And then
there.
they won
but
24-2.
24. That's what they were doing. They were just saving
It's
those
your
runs
team,
there. But yeah, that's I look at that as a winnable division there. You have the Cubs, are 14-10. The Brewers are 12-11.
Brewers don't seem as good as they've been. They lost when the decline started when they lost Corbin Burns, I think. Yeah, but so I don't know, and they lost Adames, right? So they don't scare me. But hey,
I think we said this last week as well there, but I think the division that is going to be the most fierce all the way through is the NL West. You have
4 teams with winning records.
4 teams that are over 12 wins. So
Yeah,
the
and
only
then you have
division,
the Rockies.
the Rockies. Yeah.
There's some good players, but yeah, it's a tough year for them.
I mean, the Padres and the Dodgers, you have 16-7. The Giants are 15-8, and the Diamondbacks, once again, 13-9. So that is, I think it's going to be a 4-horse race all the way through, and it wouldn't shock me to see the Padres win that division. I think Tatis is playing.
Otani's on.
He's back now.
paternity? Oh,
He's
he
back
is?
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they have the baby?
Yeah. Yeah, he only
girl?
missed, I think, two days there, but
The little
yeah,
girl?
I think so there,
I
yeah.
always say that's good. Girls are smarter.
Yeah.
That's
I
my life.
didn't get the name or such there.
Or the weight.
But yeah.
Come on, get
but
the de-
yeah,
you're the detail man,
I think
Corey.
next week I'll get all that there.
Okay, the
But,
fans want to know.
But looking at it, I like the Padres in that division. Just the way that Tatis has been just hitting the ball. He has a 350 average right now, and
Machado. I mean,
yeah, so-
they got some pretty good pedigree there on that team.
and they don't have all their weapons, with their pitching. Darvish is going to be coming back later on. I mean, he's not going to be the same Darvish from old there, but he's still going to be that that veteran type in that rotation there. So, and then you look at the East there, and we're you got the Mets. They're 16-7. They're on a 5-game winning streak there, but
16-7.
16-7 there, and then
So the Phillies are 3 games back.
3 games
13-10.
back there, yeah. The Braves are 9-13.
They play better lately, obviously.
They're on a 4-game winning streak, and I wouldn't count them out there, but they still have a steep road to climb there. But they're
Acuña's not back yet.
not back there.
Brother plays for the Mets.
Speaking of Acuna, he had some comments that he made. He deleted his post there, but about I forget who the runner was, but he wasn't hustling out of the bag. You know, he got out at second base, and he wants to call it a double standard. You know, I got benched, you know, when I wasn't running. So he's not even with the team right now
I know,
because,
yeah,
you know,
that's
you know,
not good to be
recovering there.
mouthing
But
off when you're,
yeah,
that's not good for team spirit.
morale there. But I'm not going to count the Braves out there. You know, they start 0-7 there, but I think, you know, before we get to May, I think they're going to be out of the cellar. I think, you know, they'll pass the Mets, or they're not going to pass the Mets. They're going to pass the Marlins and the Nats. I think they're going to be in third place going in to start the month of May there, and then, you know, I think it's going to be those three teams
Yeah.
in the thick of it.
Marlins, they got a few good players.
Yeah, I think they've been
So do the
surprising
Nats,
there.
So, yeah.
I think the team that, you know, right now, you know, in the AL West there is, you know, Athletics. Even though their record is 10-12, I like their path that they're going.
They have some pieces.
Yeah, they definitely got some pieces. They
Booker, that guy, I mean, when the Phillies went out there and I think they got swept by the A's, you're thinking, man, these are guys nobody ever heard of, but the kid the bullpen guy,
Mason Miller.
yeah.
And then they have Soderstrom, you know, has the most, you know, tied the league in home runs with 9. And they've just called up their prospect that was drafted 4th last year in the 2024 draft, Nick Kurtz. You
And I
know,
like their manager, Coatsy. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's a player's manager, and so yeah, what's that stadium like? Have you seen any games out there?
it's definitely the best way to describe it. It's probably it's a hitting ballpark, you know, for sure.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you know, with the Rockies there, but it's, you know,
Right.
you know, you look at the scoring and all that. There is definitely a lot of runs being scored. I don't see the Athletics making the playoffs. That's not where I'm going with this, but I like where they're going at. I think they got pieces in place there. They definitely need the pitching. I think that's what they're lacking in. But they could be a team, you know, in 2026, 2027, contending for a wild card spot.
And by then, they're
with-
getting ready to go to Vegas.
Whenever that happens there,
Yeah,
with,
it could
you
be
know,
at
when
least
that
3 years
stadium
from
and all that
today.
there. So,
In the meantime, they're going to be the Athletics.
yep, not Sacramento or
No,
that there.
no.
So, but just the Athletics. But you know, and then kind of, you know, closing with the AL East there. You know, the Yankees have a game and a half, you know, lead with the Red Sox. The Blue Jays are 12-11. They on a 3-game losing streak. They got swept over the weekend. You know, that's a team where they need their pitching. And then it goes back to the Orioles. The Orioles are 9-12. If they can, you know, sweep the Nats and go 12-12, you know, after 24 games. But the thing is, they don't have the starting pitching. The Orioles do.
Rays are 5th.
The Rays are 9-13. So you have lots of teams that are just, you know, playing that, you know, 500-esque ball right now. You know, the Blue Jays were, you know, 12-8. They lost 3 in a row, so they're kind of in that territory. But, you know, it's a team that can, any of these teams can just run away with that division. You know, you have Garrett Crochet over the weekend that, you know, had 7 innings again. You know, he's pitching like a Cy Young. And then you have, you know, yesterday they were playing, they were finishing their series with the White Sox. They were playing the marathon game. So they played at 11 o'clock yesterday morning. So they won that game.
Boston Marathon you're talking about.
Yes, the Boston
obviously, so,
Marathon
yeah.
there, yeah. So, yeah, I like what I'm seeing with the Red Sox there, just, you know, how they're starting out there with their rotation and their bats. But, you know, see what happens over the next couple of weeks there. So, but I think the team that has really surprised me is probably, I guess probably San Francisco. I mean,
Yeah.
the way that they're at 15-8, you know,
Yeah.
no one really picked them to go and contend for a playoff spot. And, you know, we said this last year with the Pirates, you know, how they had a great, you know, month of April, and that got them nowhere.
Skeens got
So,
shelled last time out, didn't he?
I think he pitched on his bobblehead game. So, I think they lost like 3-0 or
Columbus.
something like that there. So, but other than that, we got we said about the draft on Thursday. What do you think about the Eagles? I know they're picking at the end of the round there. What do you think they?
Well, we talked about safety. I think if they take a safety, I think that's a good move. I think they're pretty in good shape, the O and D lines, but you can always use an extra edge rusher. I think with Jalix, who's the guy that got hurt in the Super Bowl early on? He was really coming on. N'Kobe Dean.
Yes.
And get somebody like that. Running back, Saquon Barkley, obviously, but Gainwell signed as a free agent. They got Shipley, who looked great in the Super Bowl. Yeah, they won great. Will Shipley out of Clemson. But, maybe they're looking for, you can always have a little depth at running back. Tight end, I've heard a lot of speculation that they might be moving on from their tight end. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Or they could just trade out. I mean,
Dallas Goddard. I just
yeah.
thought of it. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
When you're the last pick of the first round there, sometimes a team that wants to get back in the first round, and sometimes that could be your quarterback or a best available player, and they want to get that fifth-year option. Because if you're picked in the second round, you don't have that fifth-round option. So sometimes teams do that. They they get that last pick where they want to trade and get in there. So
Where did Kenny Pickett end up?
Kenny Pickett is with the Browns,
The Browns. Okay.
I believe. There, yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, they got a few quarterbacks, don't they? The Browns right now.
Well, yeah, they got Joe Flacco that's back
Yeah,
there, and
right.
they don't.
And Jameis Winston, where'd he go?
Jameis Winston went to
Jets.
the Jets, or no, he went to the Giants.
Giants, that's right.
With
So they
Russell
have-
Wilson there.
So they have Russell Wilson. They have Jameis Winston, and are they going to take
Potentially,
Shedeur Sanders?
I can see them just going with the best available. Maybe maybe Carter. Maybe
Travis Hunter, the number one. Or
he's
Cam Ward.
Cam Ward's going to go one. And it's just a matter of where the
Tennessee.
other picks would fall into place there. Just because you could have Shedeur fall. If Shedeur Sanders doesn't go in the top 5, I can see him going to the Saints. We talked about this last week
Derek
as well.
Carr,
Derek Carr could be
health-wise.
out for the season. So you have not a lot of experience with the other quarterbacks on the roster. You probably just go with a quarterback and just kind of with
Well,
the
they
first year
see
quarterback or
what,
first year
what
coach.
Daniels did to the Commanders, and you think, hey, maybe Sanders could do that same kind of thing for our team. I
Yep.
mean, similar styles, really good runners out of the pocket. I don't know if Sanders is quite of the Daniels caliber in terms of running, but he had a lot of success as a dual threat quarterback. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
the teams that I'm interested to see what they do is Pittsburgh at 21. Do they draft a quarterback? I think if they would, it would probably be Jackson Dart, from Ole Miss there. So, there's lots of variables, but I think one is certain is going to be Cam Ward going to Tennessee. The rest is just up in the air, with trades and
Wait and
such.
see. Will you watch the draft as it unfolds live, or just? I usually just watch the trailer, and see who went, and because within 2 hours they're gonna have the first 10 picks will be
Yeah,
probably
it'll take up
from
until, like,
Green Bay,
midnight
so
there,
that'll
yeah.
be a cool spectacle.
Yep.
So, anyway, we gotta go. You gotta get ready for trivia. So do I. So, thanks for a great job as usual.
Another week, yeah.
Jordan and Sean in the control room, thank you. And thank you for tuning in, all of our loyal viewers. We'll see you next Tuesday and every Tuesday here on Sports Chat. Good night, everybody. Mahalo.